We are live on Facebook. There we go. Hey everybody. And sometimes we're early, sometimes we're late. This time we're actually early for the Q&A. It's 1 p.m. or just before 1 p.m. on Thursday, which is our normal time. I've got a really cool guest tonight or today. We're starting to really grab some cool people and some interesting characters from across the board. And um, you know, I'm from Burlington. I've lived my whole life in Burlington except for one wonderful year in Whistler, BC. And so I feel like I have some history here, but I'm pretty sure Mr. Don Thorpe has more history than me because Don is the president of the Burlington Historical Society. And this gentleman has some information and he's got some cool things to share about the city of Burlington and how it came to be and all the things. So, if you're going to live in a place, why not know a little bit about it, where it came from, how it got here, because it just didn't come from nowhere. You know what I'm saying? So, Don, nice to have you on the show.
My pleasure.
Let's start with what is the Burlington Historical Society and what is your function for what you do?
All right, Trevor. The Burlington Historical Society is a registered charity, and it was founded in 1899, and has been serving the community for over 50 years as an affiliate member of the Ontario Historical Society. Our mission is to preserve and share Burlington's past for the enjoyment and education of the community, making our history accessible and relevant for today while nurturing interest in future generations. The
Very
archive,
important.
yeah, the archives, which are located at the main branch in the library on New Street, and has a lot of historical documents dating back to 1780, including photographs, postcards, maps, census reports, and others. Many items have been digitized and accessible online through the link to our archives page. A little bit about the society as well. At the main branch of the library on New Street, we host speaker presentations at each of our general meetings held 8 times a year, January through May, September through November.
Are those public meetings, Don?
Pardon me?
Are they public meetings?
Oh yeah, they're wide open to the public and it's
Very
free,
cool.
no charge to anybody.
Very
We do
cool.
ask if you have an interest to join our organization, a nominal fee. You can check that out online as well. Uh, our guest speakers have varying knowledge, and for example, our last speaker just 2 days ago, Mark McNeil from the Hamilton Spectator, journalist who's written many articles. He put on a great show. We had a really good turnout. We must have had about 70 or 80 people there. We were very
Wow.
pleased.
Very cool.
And we would, and as I said, bring your friends. It's free. We usually have draw tickets so you can get a door prize as well. Our website is the burlingtonhistorical.ca, and our email, if you'd like to email us with it or find out more information, is info@burlingtonhistorical.ca.
That's excellent. So what we'll do is in the comments below of this post, we'll get to Andrea, our faithful Andrea that does a lot of the back end work to get this stuff going. She'll put all those comments or those links down there so you can click really quickly down below and take a quick peruse of their website. I got to ask you, like, so you've got obviously a lot of cool stuff in your archives. What's the most interesting or cool or weird or wacky thing you've seen? There's got to be something funny in there.
Well, actually, here's an interesting. We had to turn this one down. We had a local farmer in the area wanted to donate his wagon to the Historical Society.
Hmm.
It dated back to the 1880s.
Wow.
We just didn't don't have
You know the space for it.
but we did digitize it.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. So did you do like you took photos and you did like a 3D
Yeah,
imaging of it?
yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah,
And this came from a farmer somewhere in North Burlington, I
yeah.
assume that
That's
had it.
correct. And
Wow.
we've had some models of farms donated to us as well.
Oh,
Somebody had made models, and another one that was very interesting was the Bastido trunk, which came over from Britain back in the early 1800s. And it actually, the Bastidos founded the Appleby United Church that was located on Highway 5 at about Guelph line, but it burned down a couple of times and they
mm.
rebuilt it and moved it around. But then we decided that we didn't have the room for it. So last year we donated that trunk to the church. So it's now on display at the church.
Very cool.
Yeah.
The city of Burlington as a whole. So I've been here 45 years. That gives my age. At the end of the day, that's like scratching the surface of the timeline for this city. What were sort of the founding elements of this city? Who brought this together? How did we get here?
Well, I only date back 76 years.
I wasn't in suggesting you should know because of personal experience.
No. Well, of course, back in the early days, Joseph Brandt,
Yep.
who was an indigenous person who was granted Brandt's Block, and Brandt's Block roughly ran from Guelph Line to Francis Road along the lake shore and up to the escarpment. That was kind of the Brandt's Block.
Mm-hmm.
Out of that, then that's where the first village of Burlington was established, and it was called Wellington Square.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then Wellington Square and Port Nelson and a few other of the communities bonded together, and Burlington became a village. And then, of course, as you know, it's grown since then and been incorporated with Aldershot joining in. As a kid, Burlington was 5,000. I had a population of 5,000.
Wow.
I grew up on Maple Avenue, where the Burlington Mapleview Mall is located. My dad had farmland there, and my great grandfather, who came over here in 1869, and actually ended up marrying a young woman that he met on board ship as they came across. He went to Hamilton to start off, and he worked for the Hendry family as a gardener.
Very cool.
You remember Hendry Gates? It's located
Yes.
in the RBG. Well,
Yes.
that's the family he actually worked for.
That's
Well,
very cool.
8 years later, he married the young woman, Elizabeth Anderson, and they first established their farm on Plains Road,
Mm,
right fairly close to where St. Matthew's Church is located.
right.
At that time, Elizabeth can you just imagine this? Used to take the horse and buggies wagon to the Guelph market.
Guelph.
Guelph
How
market.
long did that take?
Well, you got to figure she went up the Clapperson's Cut,
Yeah.
and that's how she had to get up to Guelph.
Wow.
So she probably left at about three or 2 in the morning to
Yeah.
go to market.
Wow.
And then after making substantial profits on Plains Road, they then moved to Maple Avenue, and at that time it was called Sand Road.
Mm.
Very appropriate because the soil was very sandy
Sandy. Yeah.
loam.
Yeah.
Excellent soil.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to think about the idea that like the little communities that were, I guess when you live in a city that has 100 and some odd thousand, 200,000 people, whatever, and you're all condensed into this area, it's hard to sort of think back to a time when these little smaller communities existed first,
Hmm.
that were actually little towns
That's
that
correct.
get enveloped by the city eventually of Burlington as it continues to expand. And just like you said about driving or riding, to Guelph, we drive there in 30 minutes or 20 minutes. I mean, driving between these or riding between these communities just to get to places. And
That's
and
right.
and also the interesting part about the word community and having such small communities like that is everybody knew everybody. I could
That's
drive
correct.
down Guelph Line or Walker's Line and I would know nobody for 10 kilometers, and then I'd run into someone I might know down in Southport, whatever. It doesn't matter. But there you walk out the front door and everybody knows everybody.
That's
It's
right. And
totally different mindset to today's world. It's a
mhm,
very interesting time
yeah,
back then.
yeah.
And what were some of the key points of bringing the whole thing together? Do you have any key moments of like, these were the things that said, okay, we're going to call this Burlington now, and this is all one thing?
Actually, the name Burlington was they misspelled a name from England at Bringington. That's
That's
how that's
perfect.
that's how we
We are a
got
screw
our
up.
name. Yeah. Um, well, as you know, we have celebrated some milestones as far as the city is concerned, as far as the village is, a town is concerned as well. But you have to remember that back in the early days, Burlington was a shipbuilding center.
Right.
Can you believe that?
I
There
didn't
were,
know that
there were
actually.
actually three wharves located between Elizabeth Street and Brant Street.
Wow.
And if you take a look at the names of the condominiums that are now located along there,
Bunton's
those
Wharf.
were the names of the wharfs.
No way.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm in real estate and I have been for 20 years and I had no idea. No clue.
Now you know.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's such that this is the stuff I nerd out on. I love this stuff.
And then of course at the foot of Brant Street, maybe I know it was might have been before your time. There, I'm now talking when I was a kid. There was a canning factory located right on the
Oh yeah,
water.
before my time for sure,
Yeah,
yes.
right across from the Roxy, the Hune, or the Odeon Theater, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have so my earliest memories of Burlington as a whole come from so first of all when I was born, my parents lived on Lakeshore Road in the apartment buildings just on the south side of Lakeshore that were rentals. It's called the Astoria. Everybody
Mhm.
knows the Astoria. A lot of people
Yeah.
know it. Right across from that development that's happening in that plaza on the north side. And we actually, my parents were in the newspaper since we're talking about history, because it was a building that really didn't allow children. And my mom got pregnant and had me, and they brought me home. And there was a big battle for them to be able to stay until we found a new place. And it was 5 years before we found a new place. They let us stay there for 5 years with me as a kid.
Mhm.
But I remember when I had a dog back in the day, as an example, we used to go to the kennel that is up on just on Orchard Road in Burlington, actually, which is now no longer in existence because they closed down. But that used to be literally like Orchard Road was called that because it was all orchards at one time. And I
Absolutely.
remember driving up there into the country and like driving into away from the city and being like, oh, we're going a ways out here and up kind of a dirt road up that way, and that was it. And we dropped our dog off, and that was it. And then fast forward, like 30 years, and I buy a house like 10 feet from the dog kennel there I forget the name. What was the name of that kennel? I forget what it was called. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The
Mhm.
point is it's a really cool, like we've really expanded the extent of our borders and what we've been doing here.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. We've expanded.
we used
You
to we
made a
used to
good
play in
point.
the field on Brant Street and Leyland, for example. That was a field, and we'd go and grab like old gross tires out of that field because my buddy lived across the street or on Leyland, and so we'd pull old tires that people dumped out of the field, and now it's a big plaza. You know, so many
Well,
stories like that. I'm sure.
as a kid, we used to go up and up on get this. Probably at one time, one of the most expensive real estate that was located in Burlington was Tyandaga.
Yep.
You remember those days?
Oh
Well,
yeah.
Tyandaga, much of Tyandaga on Kearns Road is built on the old dump.
That's hilarious. They don't know that probably.
No, they don't know that. But I hope you've had a chance to take a look at it. David Craig, who is our image specialist, has done some fantastic work with that. In Aldershot, a lot of the signal boxes have wraps on them, and they're at those locations are what it looked like at that time period. So if you're ever walking
Oh,
or riding your bike in Aldershot along Plains Road, we've got another one slated for the corner of Drury Lane and New Street, and it's going to focus on the old arena that used to be located there.
oh, that's
So,
cool.
people have to wait for the light. They might as well enjoy, if they're walking, they might as well stop and read a little bit about the history of the area. Uh,
And these are kind of the initiatives that you guys help put forward in order to allow people to learn about the history.
yeah, and we have some, down at Spencer Smith Park, we have an information with regards to the Brant Inn that's on display down there.
Mhm.
Uh, and from about Canada Day, well, actually not Canada Day, but just before Canada Day until the end of Heritage Week, which is first week of August. Do you know where Centennial Square is?
Feel like I'm supposed to know where that is, but maybe I don't.
Foot of Brant Street.
Oh, I didn't know that was called that.
That's called Centennial. You know where the Teen Tour Band is on display? You know those
Yes.
statues that are there?
Yeah.
Well, during that period of time, we have 14 posters that we put on display there during that period of time. And it covers everything, daily life, education, what it looked like, what the waterfront looked like back in the day, what Brant Street looked like back in the day.
Mm.
So make sure you go down there and take a look at those those poster boards. They're really
Sure.
interesting. When we're putting them up, people are they're asking us questions before we even get a chance to put them up. A lot of fun that way.
Well, and of course you get a lot of traction down there because of the amount of traffic from the festivals and
Oh yeah,
all kinds of different things that go on down there throughout the summer.
yeah.
Even the winter with some of the cool light displays they put on down there are pretty neat.
I have to plug this as well.
Okay.
I think it's August the 8th, which is a Wednesday.
Mhm.
Myself and David Craig will be doing our third Burlington Trivia Night at the Performing Arts Center in the studio. Again, it's a free event. You closer to the event, you would go on their website to order your tickets so you could go. And it's from 7 to 9, and they even have a bar open there as well.
Ah, well, there you go. You can't complain about that.
And it's one of the many events that take place during Heritage Week.
And all of those events are listed on your website, I assume, at some spot.
Or they'll be listed on the
The
Burlington's
B,
website as well.
right, City of Burlington and potentially BPAC's website, the
Yeah.
Burlington Performing Arts Center's website.
Mhm.
Very cool. Do you have anything to do with like the heritage designations that go along with the houses? Do you have any input on those or no?
No, I was a few years ago before I became president. I was on Burlington Heritage, and
Hmm.
that's the committee of council. We're a volunteer group that would be involved in. They don't make the decision; they just recommend building.
Recommend. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of
And
course. Yeah.
then council's going through some many issues right now with regards to that as our downtown is changing.
It certainly is. That's for sure.
Yeah.
How about there's like stone structures and like cairn type things. Like, is that you as well? Like your organization takes care of those?
Actually, there's a very interesting point. Last year, we took on a project of the Loyalist Cemetery. You know where it's located in Burlington?
I'm gonna guess, and I'm thinking Walker's Line. Is that
No. Well, there
no?
is one down that way, but it's not the main one that has a lot of old Burlington names in it that you would recognize.
Okay, I don't
The
know where
one
that one
by
is.
IKEA.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yep.
the
Yep.
stone wall that you see there,
Yep.
in behind that is where the Fishers, the Gents, they all a
Right.
lot of the they were actually they were Empire loyalists that came to Burlington and settled after the war.
And it's interesting to know that all those street names that we have, a lot of them come from that.
And you know where Elizabeth and John Street get their name from?
Tell me, because I have no clue. I'm so clueless at this point. I
Jo-
feel completely ridiculous.
Joseph Brandt's children.
No way.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's super cool. So
yeah.
then I'll add my little trivia into it because obviously real estate, we sell a lot. Thomas Alton, Alton
Yep,
Village is also the Alton family,
that's correct.
right? And they owned a large portion of this land. I'm sitting in Alton Village right now. So they owned a large portion of this land up here and eventually sold it off as time went on, I'm assuming. Um, and there's a Richardson family up here. I don't know if you know the
That's
Richardsons.
right. You know the
We've done a
name.
lot of business with them. They have a ton of land up here. And it's funny because real estate is so intricately kind of connected to history as a whole. I sold the property in South Burlington one time on Martha Street, and I remember getting a copy of the survey, and the survey was in meets and bounds,
Hmm.
which I'd heard about because we needed to learn about it in our training to be a realtor, but never come across one in my entire time, for about 15 years, and finally saw one. And I was like, this is just so interesting. You
Yeah.
know, there's some really cool old homes. Are there any really neat specific points of interest that you would recommend people getting out to drive around and see?
Well, one of the neatest homes is the Dutch Embassy that's located on Lakeshore. The Heersink family.
Oh,
Uh,
I know which one you mean. Yep. It
you
looks
know,
like a castle. Yeah.
yeah, it's at Smith and the Lakeshore. That's a really cool one. And of course, there's the gingerbread house that's across from St. Luke's Church on Ontario Street.
Yeah. We've seen that one.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. These
those are
things I know.
yeah. And I would say that just if you ever get a chance, Alan Harrington, who's a member of our historical society, during Heritage Week, does usually a tour of the downtown and talks about a lot of the old homes that are in that area. And there is a lot of history along either side of Brant Street, that's for sure.
We certainly, I mean, and it's funny because you walk up and down the street, let's say during the festival, and it's closed, and you just don't realize that you're walking on the feet, like along the path of people that came so far before you, And it's such a cool feeling to think that, and to
Or
think
what it
that
look or what it looked like.
what it looked like must have been so interesting. Like I really feel like I should have been born back then, quite frankly. That's just me. I don't know, but whatever. But I do love technology, so that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, like I would have loved, like, Back to the Future. I would love to hop in a time machine and slide back there and just poke my nose in to see what the heck was going on back then. And the dirt road instead, and the cobble roads and things, and they had instead of paved roads. I think, we have a life now that is very condensed and very immediate. Life was slower and took more time. You needed to take time to go to the neighbor's house because it was longer. You're not going to call them on the phone. You know what I mean? It's just totally different world back then.
And I don't want to sound like a really old person, but it does make me sound that way. Is that as a kid growing up on Maple Avenue, we had two driveways. We had a driveway off of Maple Avenue.
Yeah.
We had a driveway off the QEW. Okay, we had two driveways. Actually, in 39, when the QEW was put in, they expropriated the farmland and split our farmland in half.
Oh my.
Eventually, they had to sell off the other half because it became limited access. They put
Right.
fencing up and boom, that driveway was closed. But as a kid, especially on holiday weekends before the Skyway was built,
Hmm.
of course, everybody had to go across the lift bridge.
Right.
And the traffic would back up. And
Hmm.
it be behind our farm. I would go out and I would sell produce to the people as they're waiting for them to go further on down the road.
That
And,
is so cool.
and it was also a great source of collecting pop bottles as well.
Well, people would just toss their
Oh,
bottles
they'd
out the
toss
window.
them out the window. Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, there's such a storied history, even more recent history. I mean, I went to Central High School for my schooling,
Me
and
as well.
the
Yeah.
history behind that. Were you at the reunion
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. We were there too. The history behind that school, even is so immense and quite in depth, and there's just so much there. I
Mhm.
mean, that is that one of the first high schools in Burlington, if not the first high school in Burlington?
It was the first high school
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Burlington,
yeah, yeah.
and of course Central Public, located right next to it, is one of the first public schools as well. Now there were many that were located, they're called SS number whatever along Plains Road as well, because the QEW was really Middle Road.
Mm.
That was its name back then, and then of course you got Upper Middle Road, you got Middle Road,
Oh, I
and then you
see.
got the Lake Shore. Yeah.
I'm learning so much today. That's so great. And was it so obviously the other towns and cities around us weren't as built up back in the day. So Middle Road would have just connected us like a little road all the way across as
Mhm.
people came through, right? It wouldn't have been a massive open road. It would have just been a small trail or path or a
That's
road at some point.
yeah.
But yeah, no, that's very interesting. Middle Road and Upper Middle Road.
And then of course we had villages that disappeared, like Appleby Village. It
Right.
disappeared. But again, Burlington is made up of Appleby. I'm trying to remember them. Appleby, Cummingsville, Dakota, Kilbride, uh, Port Nelson,
Mhm.
Aldershot, Freeman. Those are all kind of the names. And the Historical Society has come up with little pamphlets on all these. And again, they're free to pick up if you come to our meetings as well.
Very
Little
cool.
little booklets on what it's like. And I have to plug one other thing is David Craig has got some really cool history minutes that is located on YouTube. If you just go history minutes and on YouTube and key that in, you'll come to a lot of different short 3-minute videos on historical things that took place here in Burlington.
I just love that there's people that are caring enough to do that. And I appreciate that for you because I mean, from the standpoint of like, we have our minds like looking to the future quite a bit. It's nice to look back and sort of, maintain our history in a way that makes sense because if we don't have that, what do we have?
Well, that's the point. And David and I trying doing the trivia, we're just starting to run out of photos to use. And David is the type of guy, he runs his own little company. It's called History Picks.
Yeah.
And we're looking for photos that you have of buildings or structures in the area, or even some people, because sometimes the picture of the people, it's the items that are behind the picture that is also really interesting. And he's able to restore them. he will give the photos back to people and give you a digitized copy of those photos, probably better than what they were.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I've sold a few houses that are of that age and older homes that like I had one on Rossmore that was a heritage. It had a heritage note on it because it was part of the Joseph Brant property and
Mhm.
so on and so forth. And when they took over that house, it was an old home. When they took over that house, they eventually demolished it. I mean, it is what it is. That's the nature of you know progress, I guess. But they found a few cool things in the house,
Mhm.
and they just interesting little trinkets here and there that were kind of old things. And it's like I imagine in the walls of a lot of these houses and in the attics of a lot of these old houses, there's probably got to be little things here and there that pop out.
Or the other thing is, do you know where the Willowbank curve is in Burlington?
That's up north, King Road.
No,
No, where am
no.
I?
Okay, you basically where King Road meets North Shore,
Okay.
and then you cut off and then you go down towards the golf club.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that curve, there was the Willowbank Inn that was located there, and
Okay.
of course that's Highway 2. It was a major route, and it was a stagecoach house. It was an inn. And when they were excavating, when they were tearing down some houses and excavating, they found the remains of the stable that was located there as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
very cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and it just goes on and on. I mean, I'm big into history stuff. I mean, I could be digging into this for hours. This is really cool. So, essentially, if you want, so do you have any fundraising events, or is that part of what you do?
As I said, we're a non-for-profit. Obviously, our fundraising is basically taking the membership. We're
Right.
very fortunate that we've had some of our members leave substantial amounts of money in their wills to the Historical Society as well, which
That's
is very
great. And so
helpful.
I would suggest, I guess, from a support standpoint, come out and check out some of these meetings that you guys are hosting.
Mhm.
Do maybe the trivia night would be fun. And yeah, I think we'll put a bunch of those links below. This is so much fun and really cool and great to know that there's a face behind kind of an organization like this that cares so much, which is kind of the cool part about this.
Well, Joan
So
Downey, who is our chief archivist for our society, is really the face of the Historical Society. She's been doing it for a number of years. Let me
that's
tell
great. That's great.
you.
Well, what we need is some younger folks to pick up the
Yeah, yeah,
up
absolutely.
the reins here.
Especially ones with technical skills as
There you
well.
go. That's what
Very
we're
helpful.
looking for. So
Yeah.
this is a call out for anybody that's interested in history and lives in the city of Burlington and wants to help out. Head down and have some fun.
And you know what I'm talking about young, I'm talking under 50.
I qualify.
There you go. Uh,
That's amazing, Don. I appreciate your time. We're just running up against that 30-minute mark. So listen, I appreciate you. We'll put all the links below and I look forward to running into you and coming to some of these things. Maybe I'll stop by one of these meetings.
oh, that would be great. We'd love to have you there.
All right, Don. Thanks so much. Stick around for a second. We'll have a short goodbye, but I'm going to say goodbye to everybody out there. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.